hey, if you're a US citizen and you want to protect your retirement and you haven't got our free ebook yet, then you're really missing out. So click on the link in the description and find out how you can secure your retirement and your future today.
Yeah. All right, chaps.
How we doing?
How you doing, Lee?
Fabulous. And yourselves?
Yeah, all
we're
good.
mate.
All good. You're looking
We're
very
good.
relaxed.
It's crazy world.
Yeah, I
we're
had
all
a
good.
bit of an issue this morning, mate, with my car. I took my car in to get the lights buffed on it and some other bits and pieces, and I took it out and I went to the post office, and as I'm reversing, I've looked in the passenger mirror to reverse, right? And this is like looks like a big rusty orange on the mirror. They only just swapped my mirror for like an old shitty one. Mate, I was gobsmacked. I couldn't, because I've known these people for a long, long time. I'm thinking, do they think I'm so dumb I wouldn't even notice that? You can't even see out of it. So I sent them a message, and they've gone, oh, he probably it just needs cleaning properly. I went, mate, it's a different mirror. It's not the same mirror. And I sent them a picture, a photograph of the other one, and how it was before, because I had loads of pictures, because I'm doing the car up, so it's really, really nice, like prestige.
Yeah.
You know? And they fucking swapped it.
Wow. That
So
is
anyway,
just
I said,
necky.
yeah, mate, it's cheeky, mate. So I said, I'm bringing the car back in the morning. I'll drop it off, and then I'm going to work, and then I'll pick it up. Make sure you've changed the mirror back to the original one, please.
Yeah.
And if it's not,
heads will roll.
Awful, mate. Awful. About trust here, mate.
Yeah.
And I've known these people a long time. For them to do that, I think it's disgusting, mate.
It's shocking, isn't it? It's shocking how people can just turn like that and just
I think you would notice.
Yeah.
A mirror, like something you're going to look at all the time as well.
It's like the mirrors from 1954.
Yeah. Like if they change something that you wouldn't, they change your spare tire in the back that you're never
you
going to
wouldn't
look at.
Yeah, I mean, how many times do you use that mirrors when you drive the car?
Yeah.
Like every minute?
Not very bright, are they? I don't think.
No.
Yeah, well, there you go.
Well, give us an update, mate, next time we come on.
Yeah, let us know.
Be slap city today, mate, if it didn't happen.
Let's see if anything else has been swapped or changed or whatever.
Yeah, now I've got to really look at it now, because that the trust's gone now. I can never take my car there again.
Yeah.
And I've given them like a lot of customers
now,
over the time.
Yeah.
So I'm going to have to tell all the customers, don't take your car there anymore.
It does make you do that, though, doesn't it? As soon as a bit of trust has been eroded, you now go, okay, I'm going to have to check everything.
Yeah. Anyway, what have you boys got for us today?
Well, we were actually set a little bit of a challenge by one of our customers.
Yeah.
Already?
We went down the rabbit hole.
Yeah.
And I think I guess that's one of the advantages of having a community, is that, yes, we can talk about our journey and our experience and what we've done, but we can also give feedback and answer questions that the wider community have. So we're actually serving them with their questions, not just what we think they want to know. So a couple of videos ago, we talked with you about mortgages, how you can accelerate out of your mortgage and all this kind of stuff. And the two kind of biggest investments that most people make are their home and their retirement account, their pension. Those are the kind of two big things that a big percentage of people's money goes to. So someone
other than tax, but that's not an investment. But
the biggest expense is definitely tax.
Sure.
So somebody said to us, look, I'm in the UK. I'm thinking of pulling my pension out of whatever it's invested in and just having it in cash, and then looking at investing it in metals. But there was a potential that they were going to be taxed 40% to get access to their money.
Wow.
So some circumstances you can be taxed 20%. If you've got certain amounts, then it's 40%. So, and he was just like, I know it's a lot, but I'll control it. And, let's see, do you think it's worth it? And obviously we don't give advice. We're not telling people what to do, but we went down the rabbit hole and thought, let's see what it could look like if someone did do that. If they took the hit of 40%, how long would it take for them to make it back? And what position would they be in? Would it take 10 years or would it take a few years or so. We opened our spreadsheets and we set off number crunching like the little nerds that we are.
So that's a massive hit, that, mate, for like their own money.
Exactly.
Was it in asset or was it in cash?
He was dead set on doing it anyway, though. He said, "I don't care. I want full control over it." Was it
asset or was it like money in a bank?
No, so it was in a like in a pension, so it was in like a retirement account that it was invested in other different things and whatever they invest it in. But he got a statement of like the value.
So if you take that out early, you would get like a penalty.
There's so many 40%. Penalties. Many penalties. Here's and not look, a lot of people have pensions and retirement accounts, and if you've got them, it's fine. We're not kind of shutting them down. But this is the actual premise of a pension. You give us your money that you work hard for. We'll invest it. For managing your investments, we'll make money. Whether it goes up or down, we'll make money. You can't touch it until you're 67 and it's getting later and later. If there's any upside, we get part of that upside as well. If there's a downside, that's on you. We'll tell you at the other end when you can take it, how much you can take it, and if you take too much, we're going to tax you. Do you want to do it? No, thanks. Is our answer. We think we can look after our money better than anyone else can, and that we'll look after it and make sure it's doing what it's doing. But
it's horrific when you hear it like that, Adam.
Well, that's unfortunately, I know it's a bit of a tough message, but that's the reality. I mean,
yeah,
I've got a family member, right, who has worked for the NHS for years, come to retirement age, decided to take her pension. She's going to still work as well because she's well and, all good, decided to do some work as well. And in the NHS, what they say is, you now can't go back to work after you've taken your pension and earn more combined with your pension and your work, more than you did when you were working.
It's got to do with them.
So they actually stop you from working anymore. So they don't want you to be in a better place. And because the NHS pension is from the government, when you get your state pension, they start taxing you and taking some of that off you as well, because they say you can't have both. They pen you into a corner, and at that age, when you're 67, approaching 70, what options have you got? It's not like at that point you can turn around and stick two fingers up and say, right, well, I'm going to go and do this. Most people don't want to or don't always have the choice to. So, yeah, we just think, look, pensions, it's a bit of for us, we just wouldn't do it. But that's because we've looked into this for ourselves. But some people, they're already in that situation. They've already got a pension, and we're not here to say, oh, doom and gloom, there's no option for you. We're actually going to show you something that you can do and that there is an option for. So, well, that's how we look at pensions. You give us your money, we'll tell you what you can do with it. We'll take some off you when we manage it, and then see you at the other end, and we'll give you little bits that don't really add up to much. It's a broken system. Yeah, so just one thing to say before this, if you are a US citizen, it's totally different. If you've got they call them retirement accounts, 401ks, IRAs, there's a lot of different versions. The system is set up there that you can seamlessly move your retirement accounts into precious metals. It's very easy to do. It's very quick to do. And you don't get stung with a load of penalties either. So again, country to country things are, Australia, you can do kind of something like that, but it's not quite as good. And you have to there's a bit more of a manual process. But if you're a US citizen, you can do that. And it's very, very easy. We've helped a lot of people do it. So if people are in the US and they want to do that, get in contact with us. If you're outside of the US, it's difficult. And that's why we want to bring this information to give you something that you can do. Okay?
Yeah. Yeah.
Give us a quick disclaimer, James, before we
I mean, just one on the pension side of things too, with US citizens, there's many other benefits that aren't obvious. So it's definitely worth looking at that we learned as we started digging into it and looking into it. There's yeah, yeah. I don't think we can highlight enough how easy they've got it compared to the rest of the world when it comes to retirement funds. You know, it's very easily done, isn't it, Adam? You know.
Yeah.
But yeah, regarding the financial advice side of it, we're not here to give financial advice. We don't give financial advice. We never have. It's not within us to do that. We don't believe in advice. We learned that very early on. We'll only ever educate people and share information with you, and you can either take it or leave it. But yeah, we're not. Please don't take any of this as advice. And we're never here to try and convince anybody of anything, Adam, are we? We're just here to share information with people, and they can take it away and do what they want with it.
Yeah.
Here we go. Buckle in.
Right.
So, retirement funds. Let's take this example of, let's say someone's got £150,000 in their pension pot. They've worked all their life, and this is the amount that they've got. And they say, look, I'm not just going to leave it in the vehicle that it's in and, you know, get a pittance at the other end. I'm going to take it out, and I'm going to be taxed 40%. Might not be 40%, but let's take the most extreme. Yeah. So you're going to be taxed £60,000. They're going to take 60 grand off you.
Wow.
Straight away, which is, I think, in anyone's eyes, a good chunk of cash.
And then they'll send it straight to Ukraine or put it into a new bioweapon.
Just makes it even worse, doesn't it? That's like rubbing salt in the wound, isn't it? It's just, yeah.
So that's what they're going to take off you. It does mean you're left over with 90,000 that you then control. And that's the upside from this. Yes, you pay the tax, but you now control that 90,000. So here's something that I don't think we get taught enough of, and there isn't enough emphasis in school about. If your starting point is 150,000, 40% of that is 60, as we've just said. What you need to get back now is 60,000. But your starting point is 90,000. So it's not 40%. Your 90,000 has not got to grow by 40%, because 40% of 90,000 is 36,000. It's actually got to grow by 66,000 to get back to where you were. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because the percentage of 40,000 was on the 150. Now we've got a new starting point of 90 to get to 150. The target is 66,000. So your money has to work even harder to get back to where you started when they take it off you. And this is why Warren Buffett always says the golden rule, the first rule of investing is never lose money. And the second rule of investing is see rule number 1. Just don't lose it. You can live to fight another day then, because as soon as you lose it, it's got to work so much harder to get back to where you started. So 66% is the target. So let's look at if you bought gold and just held it in your hand or in the vault. You didn't do anything with it. You just held it over the last 3 years. So if we started at the beginning of 2020, you had your £90,000 worth, and you bought some gold and you just held it. 3 years later, so we've done all of 2020, all of 2021, all of 2022, the value would be 116,000. So it's not got back up to 150,000, but it's gone some way to get there. And that gives you, over those 3 years, the total compounded return was just under 30%. So an average of 10% a year, if you want to look at it like that. Now, that might not happen in the future, but that's what did happen in the past. Now, that's one thing you could do, but we like switching. So let's see what switching could actually do over that same 3-year period. So if we started with, again, same date, same 90,000, we bought gold, and we switched over those 3 years, we could actually have at the same end date, the value could be £154,000, nearly £155,000.
Wow.
This is having 90,000 to start with and putting your metal to work. And this is so a total compounded return with the increase in number of grams of metal that you've accumulated from switching, and then the overall growth. It's 72% increase in 3 years.
Wow, it's massive.
It's huge, absolutely huge. Just to break that down as to how people could do that, it would be switching at 75 and 90 as the gold silver ratio. You're going to increase by 15% per cycle of switching. So every time you go from gold to silver back to gold, you're going to have 15% more metal. And you would have done that 2 times in 3 years. So it's not labor intensive. You've not got to sit there looking at your screen for 3 years going, is it happening? Is it happening? You're switching 2 full cycles. So 4 times in total. So very, very low maintenance. And that's going to give you 154,000. So in 3 years, you could make back the tax that you've had to pay. And you now fully control that money. So you're back to zero. You're back to where you got to. And it took you 3 years. So for us, the 3 years was the most interesting part because we didn't know how long it was actually going to take to get back to your start point. And I think as well, most people, if they were thinking 40%, gosh, it's going to take me years to get back to that 10 years. Is it really worth doing? Well, if it could be done in 3 years, a little bit more interesting. It looks a little bit more, well, it's probably more worth doing for more people. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, we just had to look at the opportunity, didn't we? If there was an opportunity there, we just, it was like he triggered a mission. We went on a mission, didn't we? As soon as he said that, we're like, oh, it'd be really good to actually see how hard your money would have to work to get back to where you were.
Well, it is. It's absolutely fantastic mission or examination you've done on it, lad. Because that blew my mind when you did the switch. I mean, 78% was it? Is
72%.
Yeah. Well, look, when people have their retirement accounts, their pensions, we're always told that, send it off to these big companies. Why have they got big buildings? Why have they got millions of employees? Why have they got offices all around the world? Because they make so much money from your money.
Yeah.
You have to look into this stuff. But we actually think it's not that difficult for you to manage your own money. I mean, look at this. Look how simple it was. You buy gold and you click a few buttons to switch.
Yeah.
And they'll it would be very unlikely that a company would be able to give you these returns. And if they could, you wouldn't get it all. They would take some of it for themselves. So we took it one step further and we said, well, let's see what you could get in another 3 years. What would everything look like in another 3 years? And we don't know what the data is going to be in the next 3 years coming up. So we've kind of been conservative and said, look, over the last 3 years, you could have gained 72% through more metals plus the price of metals going up, price of gold going up. So let's just imagine that you get 50% over the next 3 years. So not 72%, but 50%. And that's a combination of metals going up in value plus some switching. And we don't know how many switching opportunities there's going to be, but I think 50% is quite reasonable. So if you took that 154,000 3 years later and it grew by 50%, then you've now got 232,000.
Wow, coming up to 250,000, mate. That's just chunky.
Yeah. And that is taking your money out, taking control of it, being taxed 40%, and 6 years later having more growth than you would have if you left it in.
Yeah. No brainer.
Yeah. It's ticking a lot more boxes, I think, isn't it? And we had to look at this because we've had so many customers speak to us about this, and they've said they take 40% off me. It's a no-go. It's just a no-go. It was just an instant no-go. And it was just because that one customer said, well, I'm taking it out anyway, and I'm going to do it because I just want control over it. And it set us on a mission to work it out and just see what the results would be. What is the potential? And the switching's the game changer again, isn't it, really? That's made the biggest difference. If you weren't able to do that, it's just because you're able to do that, that has really changed everything. I mean, we're not here to encourage people to do this. We're certainly not, that's not what we're about. But we're letting them know what can be done. because where there wasn't a possibility, there might be now for people watching this. There might be, you know,
I think that's the
something
key
they
point,
can do.
because with any decision, if the decision is going to be a painful decision, like losing 40%, but there's chance that it can be far better in the future, then sometimes you're willing to go through that pain for things to be better.
Take the hit. Yeah.
But if you don't know there's something better, then the result of the decision is just pain. Then why would any of us do anything like that? We would never take a decision like that.
Yeah, if you're not aware of what's possible, then you're never going to go there. Are you?
That's the big problem, like you said. If it's not taught in school, which it's not, you're taught into a system that is broken, and you're always going to lose on every corner. So, what you guys have done here, it's absolutely fabulous, because, you know, even if you're in that sort of system, it's worth taking the kick in the nuts and to better yourself. I mean, looking at them figures there when you do the changeover, mate, it's phenomenal.
Yeah. And look, we have to say, look, the figures that we've done are in a very kind of sterile environment. You know, it's easy to plug them into a spreadsheet. In real life, the figures are going to be slightly different, and, you know, you might not get an exact 15-point switch. It might be 14 points or whatever. But for us, the whole principle of being able to do this, and the fact that it can be done in a relatively short period of time, like, look, maybe it takes you 4 years rather than 3 years, or maybe, you know, a little bit longer, but still, it's within the realms of, it's within the realms of possibility. It's not 20 years. I think that's the point.
It's a fast win when you look at
it. The door was closed. Now the door can be opened. You know, it was closed for most people. Most people was at, no, definitely not losing 40%. That's it. It was just a big fat no, and they're just trapped in this retirement fund, this pension. That's all they've got. You know, they've got strings tied to them left, right, and centre. They can't do this. They can't do this. They can only do this, and blah blah blah. And they've got all these strings attached, and all of a sudden, you know, they've now got a possibility here where they can cut them strings. It might take a hit initially, but long term,
it's worth the hit when you look at that, because if you leave it in, you just getting further down the line, getting spanked again, aren't you? So
it's tough. I think all of this comes under the umbrella of taking responsibility for your life, and like we've said before, that you have to take responsibility for the good and the bad, and it can be a scary journey, but it can be worth it.
When you do it, I tell you now, it makes it. When you do it, it feels good.
The problem is, I think a lot of people are just frightened of change, because, you know, they've been put into this thing where, oh no, this is the way it has to be done. You have to do it like this, and you haven't actually like got out of that box and seen what else you can do with your money. When then you guys come along and explain it like you do, it's a no-brainer. It's like, that is broken, and that is no good for me. This is really good for me, and I've got full control. And I'm getting away from that tax man, because I mean, we did a video, lads, today, and I was blown away how much money is paid into and this is in England alone, so I don't know about America, but how much money the British government take in tax on a weekly basis. And me and Dave were blown away with the figures, mate. Billions. I mean, at one point it was trillion pounds, and they broke it down to daily, hourly. What was the second, Dave?
First second was 36,000.
36,000 a second in taxes, right? You work that billions to trillions, right? Where is this money going?
Not in our pocket, I'm telling you.
Straight over to Ukraine, straight into the pharmaceutical industry, straight in the politicians' back pocket. So why you want to sit and keep your money in these pensions and give another 40% away to the globalists? Take control. Take control of your money. Take control of your health. And get away from it. Far away from it, because it's corrupt.
We always look at stuff on a very kind of black and white basis, and nobody ever got rich saving money in a bank.
No.
And nobody ever had a financially independent, great life from a pension.
It doesn't happen, does it? It doesn't happen.
So you've got to look at the results of what they're selling, you know, what you're being sold. You're being sold this dream. But I mean, I might butcher the numbers here. This might not be exactly right, but I'm sure that to retire on 25 grand a year, which by the time retirement comes, 25 grand is not going to buy you very much at all. I'm sure you need about £400,000 in your pension pot. Which is,
we have done the numbers on this in the past, but it was a long while ago, wasn't it, Adam?
it's something like that. Which, if you think about it, 400,000, you work for 40 years.
Yeah.
You basically need about £800 a month spare to retire on 25 grand later in life.
Wow.
Madness.
Yeah, I remember the video we did about you know, do you remember when your grandma was like that, just scratching for pennies?
Yeah.
We did a video.
Yeah,
that was my grandma.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Little council house.
The system just doesn't work for everyday hardworking people, and they keep you on that hamster wheel so that you don't have time and attention to look at other things like this. But if all we can do is plant that seed and just get people to take a moment just to consider another option. And this example might not be for everyone. Some people might say, well, look, I can do it and only pay 20%, or actually my pension pot doesn't look like this, or it doesn't work like this. But at least you can see there could be a path. And I think when people feel helpless, it's because there's no options. If we can give you an option, then at least it breaks that helplessness kind of feeling where maybe there is something you can do.
Yeah, very, very rarely there is no options at all. There's always an option. But we've had people that have tried to move the pensions into a SIP or whatever so they can buy gold, but they could only buy gold, they couldn't buy silver, and blah, blah, blah.
Very restrictive.
But they're still in a better place. It's still an option which they weren't aware of initially. It's still an option. Then there's other people that have stopped paying into a pension now, and they're paying into precious metals instead. They've got their own precious metals, well, their own pension that they're in control of. So they've got their own pension still, but they've got this other thing going, their own metals pension too. Or they've just set up, they've watched this, they haven't got a pension at all. So rather than have a normal pension, they've just got their own gold pension. They've just set up a gold account and buy gold each month, or silver, or both. It's just different options which people aren't aware of. They're just not made aware of for a very good reason. It doesn't make the elites wealthy, does it?
No, exactly.
People not using their system that they designed.
But it's what they do for themselves. They're all buying metals, and so look, if anyone can get any value from this, or anyone's got any questions, just get in contact with us, and we can kind of guide you through the process and hold your hand. It's actually very simple. Once you've done the process once, it's rinse and repeat, and you can take back control for yourself and your family.
Bloody great, chaps. Thanks a lot.
No worries. Good to chat with you.
Yeah, I think that was really good. I mean, like we said about the US market, for that one, it's a no-brainer. I think we touched on the very, very first show. I think it was the 401k you said. Yeah,
there's a lot of different names of retirement accounts. 401k, IRA, a Roth IRA, and they all come under the umbrella of retirement accounts. So
bloody great. Well, thanks for that, lads. That was really, really interesting. 72%. Fantastic.
Boom.
Not bad, is it?
Yeah. Great.
See you next week.
Yeah. We'll see you
we'll
then.
do. You take care, Lee, mate.
See you, lads.